Hello, I'm Tricia Murray and welcome to the Birth and Baby Academy. How are you feeling about your birth? Are you feeling anxious and worried and nervous around it? That's okay, many people do. Many people do get nervous and anxious because of so much of the negativity that goes around birth and all the birth stories that we read. However, it doesn't need to be like that. You can feel calm and confident and excited to meet your baby. I've worked with hundreds of women over the years, one-to-one and in groups, pre-birth, during birth and post-birth, so they can reflect positively on their birth experience. At the end of this, I invite you to go to thebirthandbabyacademy.com and download my free cheat sheet, 101 questions to ask around giving birth. I wanted to share with you how I've got to doing what I do today, and not because it was all easy for me, because it wasn't. My experiences of birth and motherhood weren't easy, and they're the experiences that I want to share with you today, not to make you frightened, but so that you can learn from those experiences and ensure that you have a much better experience. These experiences influence all of my clients so that they can reflect much more positively on their births. So around 9 years ago today, my husband and I started going through IVF. After 4 years of infertility, we found out at 12 weeks that we were expecting twins. We were absolutely ecstatic, over the moon, that we were going to have 2 babies. You see, at 8 weeks, we'd been told there was only one of the embryos had survived. So we were so excited to be having not 1, but 2 babies. What an amazing gift from the universe to have 2 babies. However, much to our shock, when we started to tell everybody, they kept saying things to us like, how are you going to cope? And we were thinking, how are you going to cope with what? It's 2 babies. We were just so excited. And everywhere we went, it was full of negative stories about how we were going to cope, the babies were going to be born early, that we would absolutely need to have a C-section, lots of really sort of negative comments. So how did we work with that? Well, I started to get really informed, and I even started to look at twin water births and twin home births and all sorts of things which at that time were really unheard of. But I got myself really informed, and I had a great woman who was very, very supportive of me. And unfortunately what happened with me and in that situation was that both the babies were both breech, and we also found out I had a low-lying placenta. Now, a low-lying placenta is one of the medical reasons why you need to have a caesarean birth. So at 38 weeks, I was booked in for a caesarean birth. Now, that wasn't an easy choice for me, and actually I was really wanting to give birth because I'd already had to overcome a fear of needles going through IVF, that this time was having to go through a fear of needles around a catheter that would be put into my back, which really felt quite frightening for me. Anyhow, I really reined in those fears and worked through them, and then ended up having a very safe delivery with my babies. Unexpectedly, I fell pregnant a year later, and I was absolutely delighted that this time I was going to give birth to this baby. It was really important to me. I felt I had been robbed of that experience the first time around, and I really wanted to give birth to this son. Really important to me. So I looked up vaginal birth after caesarean section, and it felt like it was absolutely possible to me. So I spoke to the community midwife, who was very supportive. I spoke to the consultant, again very supportive that I could do it within certain time frames. And what his suggestion, or what he said to me that he would allow, would be that he would allow me to go 10 days after my due date. And I thought that's absolutely fine. In fact, my mum gave birth to all 3 of her babies by 39 weeks. So no problem whatsoever. I will have that baby out at 39 weeks. I didn't even think about it. In fact, I was so sure that's what's going to happen. I even booked to get my kitchen ripped out when my son was going to be 3 weeks old, because that's how sure I was that's what's going to happen. So anyway, my due date approaches and nothing's happened. And I'm completely shocked because I thought I was definitely going to have this baby at 39 weeks. And then slowly but surely creeps up to to 10 days over my due date, and again, nothing has happened. So I go to the hospital and they can't access my waters, they can't break my waters, and therefore the only option is a repeat caesarean birth. So that's what happens to me. And I remember at that time feeling really robbed of that experience, because again, I really wanted to give birth, or what I believed was birth. So move forward a little bit, and when Vincent, my son, was 9 months old, I ended up having what I can only describe as a nervous breakdown. I'd obviously had depression, and it had really gone into my system, and I ended up sort of having a breakdown. But let's just move forward a little bit, and then what happened. So a couple of years later, I was teaching. I developed twin antenatal classes, and I was teaching at them. And I remember standing at the front of the room when we were talking about birth, and people were talking about different birth options. And I remember standing there and saying to them, don't worry about your birth, because your birth is one day of your life. Being a parent is the rest, and that's what you need to focus on. And I don't know who in that room I was trying to kid, because I think at that time I was still processing what had happened to me. And actually, when I think about that time, I really cringe actually that's what I said to those women. But doing those classes, what I also realised was that I really wanted to work with those women and really support them all the way through, so that it could be a much better experience for them than it was for me. And so I started looking into becoming a doula. Now, for those of you who don't know what a doula is generally a woman who provides emotional support through pregnancy, birth, and in the postnatal period. And they guide the women all the way through that path, and they help them to navigate everything around it. And the outcomes are huge, the positive benefits are absolutely huge, and it's really worth researching. So I got in touch with a local doula and international doula trainer, Nicola Goodall, and I had a conversation with her, and she was so positive about me becoming a doula. So I decided to train to do that, and by doing that I really spent ages unpicking everything that had happened to me and reflecting why I'd got ill and reflecting on how I'd find that whole experience. And all of that knowledge came together and started to fit like a big jigsaw puzzle coming together. And I used all of that knowledge then with all the women that I then started to work with, really helping them to have much better experiences than the experiences that I managed. And that's really what's led me to do the work that I'm doing now, and is fundamental to the Birth and Baby Academy and how I'm pulling all that together. You see, I was informed about birth. I was informed both times about birth, and I was really in the right positive mindset. In fact, I was actually excited to give birth. I was one of those women who really wanted to give birth. I visualised for ages giving birth. But one of the things I never really understood was the system, and how I would have to navigate the system, and how I could say no and how I could say yes to different things. And that's really what was missing in terms of my education, and I feel really passionately about that. You see, my belief about birth is that birth is a cornerstone of motherhood, and when we have better birth experiences, we can enjoy being mothers an awful lot more. And this is why you get women telling you their birth stories 50 years on, because it's been so important to them. So I'd like to ask you today what you're going to commit to. Go to thebirthandbabyacademy.com and download my free cheat sheet, 101 questions to ask around giving birth. And remember to include your birth partner, because they are an equal person to this process, and if they can work with you, they can support you, and they can make you feel like you have made all the right decisions, because you're doing that together as a unit. It's your time to learn how to relax deeply and learn wisely and experience a much better birth.